What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I want to talk about the difference between scamming and bartering. The difference between scamming and bartering, because recently a YouTuber was doing a live and he was complaining about how he felt like he was being scammed everywhere he went. You know, there was no set prices and he was complaining, and it was just a big deal, right? And he kept calling it a scam, scam. And see, this, me as a Pan-African and as a true ambassador, right? It's stuff like this when people give false information because they're not educated enough to know what they're getting into, and then they start spreading false or negative information. It's my job to jump on that and correct it with real information, okay? So, the difference between scamming and bartering in Africa is very simple, right? Bartering is a system that the majority of the world uses, right? Outside of set prices, all right? The Western world, we use set prices, right? And then we get taxed on top of that set price, right? Now, it's stable because you go in there, you know how much something's gonna cost, right? But sometimes you don't know how much taxes you're gonna pay, depending on what state you're in, but you know how much it's gonna cost. That's how we operate here. But anybody who's ever traveled for real, ever in real life, knows that when you go to other countries, they may have a system of bartering, which is the oldest system in the world. Like, it's literally the oldest form of goods and services transfer in the world, bartering, right? So when you do it, and then you gotta haggle, right? And you gotta learn the art of haggling, right? So as an American, if you go to Africa, right, it don't matter what country you go in, and they have a system of bartering. And some of these countries have both the systems of bartering, you know, haggling, and also with set prices. Like in Nigeria, they barter a lot, right? But they also have places that have set prices. It's all how you want to run your business. If you have a big business, if you have like a commercial establishment, more than likely you're gonna have a set price because you're big enough and well established enough to be able to do that, right? And have consistent profit. If you are bartering, you know, and you in a haggling form of business, is because things change rapidly, you know, depending on what's happening in the greater world. That can affect your price. That can affect how much money you can make. And you got to take opportunities where opportunities come. If somebody look like they come and they got some money, I'm gonna try to get over on them. That's just the system. Now, as an African American, well, I've made videos about this before, right? I got thousands of videos, but I've made videos like this before. It's probably on my Afro Think Tank page. But the way you do it is, and they do it in Japan too, they barter, they do that shit in Japan. When I was living in Japan, they did it there, right? There's many countries that do it. So all you do is, when they're gonna try to overcharge you, you gotta already know that. That's why you need to do your research before you go traveling, instead of traveling, and then when you run into something you ain't used to, you get on the internet and complain to 80,000 people, and now you got 80,000 people thinking that this is one way when it's really another. See, that's the irresponsibility of being ill-informed when you're traveling, and then spitting your ill-informed information and advice to a bunch of people who are already ill-informed. That's why they're watching you, right? So the way it works is, once they hear you, right? Once they hear you, they know you're an American. Let's say you're African American. They're going to hit you over the head. You just need to expect it, no matter what you do. Calling a cab, buying food, whatever. That's why I say it's important to make real relationships, right? Real organic, not like paying a YouTuber to pretend like y'all together, not like paying, you know, calling people your friend, but they're not really your friend. You just paying them to be your tour guide. I'm talking about making actual, real relationships, real friends. So that way, if you have a problem paying the tourist price and you want to pay the local price, you know, you can do that, right? Like for me, when I'm in Nigeria, as soon as I land, as soon as I get off the airport, they're asking, you know, all sorts of things happen right in the airport. Before I even get out the airport, I done already had several people ask me for money, right? Yeah, I already got several people asking me for money just out the airport. Now, is it annoying? Yes. Is it expected? Is it expected? Yes, right? Should it be that way? No, right? But I'm fully aware as a seasoned traveler that certain countries and their systems are not where it is in America, right? You see, America, we're used to being scammed systematically, right? Our scams are in the system, meaning it's already built in the price. We know we're getting scammed when we hit the grocery store. You guarantee, go to the grocery store right now and tell me, oh, you're not getting scammed, right? How much food can you put in your cart, right? And how much is that gonna cost? right? Like, so don't tell me, like, scamming in America is systematic, right? Anything you buy in America, the scam is built within the system because that's how we work. But we're so used to it and it's so smooth that we don't think about it. We deal with it because that's our system, right? But over there, they're gonna try to scam you off top, right? If you wanna call it a scam. But what they're really doing is they're trying to get the most money out of you as possible, right? If they're selling peppers, if they're selling eggs, if they're selling food, they're gonna, if you're buying off a street vendor or whatever, they're gonna try to upscale you. What you, now is your job as a aware, you know, educated individual, you're not supposed to fall for that. So when they give you a price, you know what you do? You give them, and it's all in the attitude. Like, black people, especially when you're in Africa, when you're in Africa and the Middle East, if you're in Africa or the Middle East, your facial expressions and your attitude is part of the sale. So you got to walk up in there, you know, already looking like you got an attitude. You looking at whatever you want to buy. Don't look too interested. Just kind of look at. They're gonna come over there. They're gonna see you because now you're a mark. You're the mark. They're gonna come over there. They're gonna give you a couple compliments. They're gonna have a small talk, and then they're gonna try to sell you and tell you, make you feel like you're getting a deal, right? And you're gonna be like, what you're supposed to do. You're always supposed to say no to the first one. Always say no, and then you just walk off. Once you walk off, that's when they bring the price down. Then they say, oh, come on, come back, my friend, da 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 da, right? But the second one, they're gonna bring it down, but not all the way, right? That's still not the local price. Then you gotta be like, you gotta look kind of, you ain't got to really say anything, but keep saying I'm not interested, right? Now, you may not exactly know how much you're willing to pay, but you know you weren't willing to pay that price, right? So you gotta compromise because you remember they're in business, they're trying to make money. Take in consideration that you are an American and you have a pocket full of money compared to a lot of people. So don't be cheap, right? Don't be cheap, and be reasonable, right? Never take the first price. You can take the second price, but if you really want to get over on them, you wait for that third price because they're not gonna let you walk off. There is a third price, a third number that they're willing to go to, and that's gonna be the local number. Usually that's how I go, and then you do that. Now, if you don't want to do all that, if you have real relationships in Africa with real people and it's not paid, it's not fake, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna stand there, be very quiet, especially in Africa, because you don't have to say nothing because they're not gonna know unless you're wearing something that says I'm from somewhere else. You're gonna let them do all the talking. You're gonna tell them off to the side, yeah, I want that right there. And they're gonna go over there and they're gonna buy it for the local price. That's how it works. That's how it works, okay? For all you people who think that Africa's just is just a big old cesspool of scamming, it's not. Those are also part of the stereotypes that scare African people, African Americans and other people from going to Africa. They tell you that when you go over there, it's just a billion people trying to scam you. They're all just morally bankrupt and they're all trying. No, it's the bartering, haggling system. Most of the world use the bartering and haggling system. Only certain countries that's big enough and strong enough to have nationwide set prices. And like I said, even with our system, we are getting scammed. We get scammed. Everything about America is a scam. Everything about America is a scam. When you buy your house, it's a scam. You don't own shit. You own a mortgage. You still renting that house. When you buy land, you don't own that land. The government still own that land. You gotta pay those taxes. When you buy a car, private corporations force you to go through them or else it's illegal. Get out of here. Like, scamming is America's pastime. We are professionals here in America to scam, right? But in Africa, it's not as many scams as you think. It's really not. And all their scams, like real scams, they're very basic and rudimentary. Like, you, as an American, if you have any level of education or, about anything, when you see people trying to actually scam you in Africa, it's gonna be obvious. Only a fool falls for that shit. Like, only a fool. And did you know half those Nigerian princes on the internet are white people? Yeah, they're not even Nigerian. They just use Nigerian as a scapegoat for scamming. But most of those people were white Americans. They got caught. You can look it up in the news. The biggest Nigerian scammer was some white dude, I think from Kentucky or some shit like that, like in the middle of America, right? So, but it's a stereotype that's always put on Nigeria or always put on West Africa as a whole, that, hey, if you go over there, they're gonna scam you. But who's doing the scamming? White people are scamming. France, the whole fucking country is a fucking scam. Africa gets scammed. That's what happens. 80 fucking cents for a kilogram of uranium when the market price is $200 euro. Who's scamming who? And now France is ready to go to war and kill thousands of people so they can keep getting it for 80 cents. Now, what's the scam here? Who's scamming? Right? Yeah. We don't go to Europe talking about, oh man, watch out for the scammers in Europe. Watch out for all the scamming in Europe. No, when you go to Europe, nobody even complains. They just go. Nobody says, oh, watch out for all the dangerous stuff in Europe. Watch out for all this in Europe. Y'all just get on the plane and go. Y'all do the same shit with Dubai. Y'all have no problems getting on a plane and going to the desert with a bunch of Arabs who don't like you. Who especially the women, y'all got no problem getting on a plane, going to the Middle East, where you ain't got no damn rights, thinking you can do whatever you like, right? And then when shit happens, then y'all act surprised, right? But y'all scared to go to Africa. Come on, man. Come on. But anyway, I had to make this video because when I hear people who go to Africa and they making it their business to give Africa a bad reputation, to sow false information to their many followers who have absolutely no idea about Africa, and they're taking that information and they're absorbing it and they're passing it along, which is an infection of false information, which is bad, right? That's negative shit. We don't need that, right? So it's my business to come on here and actually tell the truth with real actual information, as I'm a seasoned traveler, right? So anyway, I hope you understand that there's a bartering system and a haggling system and a method and a technique, and it's part of the culture, and you got to learn how to do it when you go into these countries so you can maximize, you know, what it is you're trying to get for the least amount of money. Play the game the way the game is meant to be played, and don't complain if you don't know how to play the game. All right, so I hope you learned something. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, T. I'm out.